But I seen it and I ducked. So I just literally ducked. That's all I did. And then I bagged up. I'm like, all right, now, bro, get this shit under control. And I started like kind of taking my backpack off. I'm like, all right, bro, I'm not trying to fight you, bro. I'm by myself. You know what I'm saying? Dude's trying to fight. I gotta do this shit. Hey, what you want, boy? Fuck you, nigga. Man, I'm telling my story.
Sorry, I know you see me call you 3 times, bro.
I did, nigga. Get your ass back. You see I'm doing something? But anyway, man, like,
bro,
but anyway, bro, back to what I was saying for this motherfucker.
Subscribe to my channel. Follow on TV, bro.
Alright, look, check this out. So then, dude swing at me, bro, and I duck. I'm like, alright, boom, he not about to hit me, you know what I'm saying? So I bag up. I'm like, alright. And then I started like getting, cause we was in the parking lot still where the cars was, where I had just stood up at. And then after that, I get away from the cars and I get in the middle of the road, right under the street lights. And then after that, I'm like, alright, boom. So nigga coming after me, he charging after me. And then same shit, he running and he boom, do that shit. I'm like, I ducked it again. Mind you, through this whole fight, it's always gonna be I'm ducking because he did not hit me. He hit me once, but I'm gonna tell you when that happened and why he hit me. But I'm running, you know what I'm saying? I'm actually like trying to get away from this nigga because I'm like, it's 6, 7 motherfuckers out there, and I'm like, these niggas about to jump the fuck out my ass. So I'm actually running from these niggas. Like, that's the first time I ever ran from niggas. I'm like, alright, I'm running straight up. I'm running from these folks. Oh, mom. I'm running from these folks. And then after that, I'm like, alright, bet. And it was nighttime, like I said, so I ain't really know where I was going because I was at their crib. And then, man, check this out, bro. I'm like, alright. So it ain't no way out this shit. So I'm like, it ain't no way out this shit, bro. So I'm gonna have to fight no matter what. And then, like I said, we in the middle of the street. Damn, trying that shit. But we in the middle of the street. And then it was like this big ass roundabout at the edge, big ass circle. You know what I'm saying? So we in the middle of the circle, and then when everything had went down. So I was like, all right, bet. You know what I'm saying? Dude's still trying to swing on me and shit. He's still throwing them goddamn haymakers and shit. I'm ducking all of them. He ain't hit me not one time. And then after that, his friend come out who was already trying to de-escalate the situation. And he kind of calmed it down. And he started talking and he started yelling at that motherfucker. And I'm like, all right, bet. So the whole time I'm running, I'm like, man, you need to stop goddamn fucking tripping and shit. I'm like, you need to get her out of here. This. I'm yelling and screaming and running and shit. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, God. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like screaming and shit. I'm like, what the fuck I'm at, bro? Like, what the fuck going on? I'm like yelling and shit. I'm mad as hell. I'm not sober. And nigga, I'm about to fight. So then, like hella shit was just going on. And like I said, the situation was at the peak right here. And then Buddy actually come out and he kind of stopped the situation and shit. And then after that, that's when I'm like, hey, get her out here. I'm like, get her out here so we can talk about this shit. Cause her ass lying like a motherfucker. And he drunk, so he probably still ain't going down. And then that's when his friend grabbed him so he don't try to keep throwing punches and shit. So then, finally, after all that happened, the girl come outside. The girl who I was fucking with, the one I told you about from the club, same shawty. She comes outside. And I'm like, look, I kind of got mad at her, but I ain't want to be too mad just because I'm like, hey, you need to tell them what happened and be real. Like, tell them everything that happened. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I already told them. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear your side of the story. And then her drunk ass, she like, yeah, well, everything I told you previously, she said that shit. She said everything happened. But, and then the thing about it is, she was like, when I was in the room and we was doing this and doing that, you know, she didn't really say, she didn't get into the nitty gritty, but she was like, we started kissing, and then I said, stop. No, I don't think it was stop. I'm trying to be exact. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it 1,000. She said no. She didn't say stop. She was like, I said no. And then he and she stuttering like a motherfucker because she drunk as fuck. She like, and I said no, and she this and that. I'm like, bro, she lying. And right when she said that shit, after I was yelling that shit, you know what I'm saying, Buddy come back around. But throw the other haymaker, and he punched his friend that time. He punched him on the outside shoulder, because he's still trying to get to me and shit. And so I'm like, bro, fuck this, man. Nigga, shit was way higher than this shit. That shit was like up there. So I'm like, I'm running, bro. I literally got my backpack, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, boom. So I see him take after me, and I see another nigga, and plus two of his partners was chasing me, and he was chasing me, and I had my backpack on. So I hopped this damn a spiky ass fence. And then I went to this yard. I scratched my jeans up. I had my do-rag on. That hoe got caught on the fence and shit. Mom, all that shit got caught.
Oh, do-rag got caught on the fence?
I had a Supreme do-rag, but that hoe got caught in the fence. And I'm like,
it do-rag.
Oh man, it did everything, bro. I'm in that whole running, bro, because I'm like, I ain't got my car. My partner took the car from me, so I'm by myself. And I'm 25 minutes away. And so I started running. And then after that, and I literally thought to myself, oh, I swear for everything. Oh, he threw it right before we started running. When he threw that punch, I ducked it because he hit his friend and shit. But his like arm and shit was kind of over my head. I seen his body, bro. I clenched my fist. I was about to uppercut the shit out of his ass. But I didn't do that just because I didn't want to cause no more problems than I already had on top of that. So I was like, all right. Then I took off running and shit. While I was running, I stopped. And I had literally thought to myself, I gotta fight this man. I have to, bro. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I stopped. I get down, tie my shoes up. This motherfucker, his partner come out of nowhere. He grabbed my backpack. Like he grabbed the top of that bitch, boom, and pushed me down on the ground. And then I don't know who it was. It might have been him, his partner, or him. That's the only time they got hit on me. He punched me 1, 2. It didn't hurt because my adrenaline was running and shit. It was like on my shoulders or some shit. So, you know, that ain't nothing. And then after that, that's the final part. His man, I was like, hell no. I said, hell no, bro. Let me square up with this nigga. Let me square up. So I took my backpack off and I squared up with him. And I started going forward and he started going back. And then I was like, I planted myself. And then after he came forward, he swung another time and I ducked that bit. And then I didn't swing, but I should have knocked his ass out. But I ain't swing. Again, I just couldn't. Someone wouldn't let me swing. And then finally, after all that shit happened, the dude de-escalated the whole situation. He grabbed both of their ass, tossed them motherfuckers and shit. Strong ass dude. But then I'm in that motherfucker like, man, fuck this shit, bro. Y'all niggas lame, man. I ain't fucking with y'all no more, bro. You know what I'm saying? They stole my phone. They set me up. She said this. Cause we already did the shit before. Then this time, shit ain't working. So, you know, she got embarrassed and got down publicly shame a nigga, but she publicly shamed your boy. What happened? So you gonna have to watch the video, man. But she did that shit, bro. And like I said, man, I had to cut her ass off. I cut that shit off so fast, bro. The next day, oh no. That same night, I started walking, and then they had cars coming up behind me and shit. Cause I'm like, all right, you know, it was late. Few cars was on the road, but not too many. I'm like, I know these niggas childish as fuck. They gonna come up and hit my ass. I literally said to myself, I said, they childish as fuck. They gonna come up and whack my ass from the back. I was like, all right, fuck it. If it happened, it happened. So I'm walking. And then I'm like, 2 cars go by. And then that third car that come down the road, I'm like, that's them. And here it go. So I'm just walking. I'm like, fuck this shit, man. Niggas ain't, you know what I'm saying, shit gonna happen. So they come down the road flying, and then they smash on the gas or the brake. That was it, skirt. They ain't alone, but it's like skirt. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, I'm looking at them niggas just, and they ain't hit me, but they just pulled to the side of me and they stopped on the road. And I'm looking at them boys, I'm like, hell no. So I keep walking. I'm like 15 minutes down the road, which is another 25 or 20-minute car ride or whatever. So they like, get in the car. I said, hell no, y'all childish ass niggas. Y'all ain't about to take me back there to fight that man. I ain't about to fight him. Like, get in the car. We not about to take you, but we about to take you wherever you gotta go. And so I'm like, all right. So my dumb ass get in the car. As soon as I get in the car with them folks,